I didn't enjoy being broke, so I found a full-time job working as a legal secretary. This was close to when I met John in 2006, 4 months after my divorce. After telling each other that we loved each other, and after he asked me what I would be like if I were his wife, I was abruptly caught off guard when I later found out he was married. He had downed more than a few Budweisers when he started complaining that Dina was using his debit card. I knew Dina was the mother of his youngest daughter, but I did not think they were married. I just said, "Whoa, wait a minute, are you still married to her?" He replied, "Well, yes, I'm not going to lie to you about it." He then gave me his version of their separation from each other. She allegedly cheated on him while they were living in Houston. He transferred to San Antonio alone and called it a separation. I had thought he was single because he had no wedding band, and his MySpace page indicated he was single. I was devastated, angry, hurt, bitter, and felt incredibly betrayed. I left his apartment in the middle of the night. I saw him on a few other occasions, but kept breaking it off. However, I would start missing him and call and ask if I could see him. He reminded me that I left him and that I do it all the time. He said he would give me another chance. I promised that I wouldn't leave again. It was sad. I was losing all self-respect and self-worth, knowing that my actions were wrong and I was being played. The behavior was not the me that I had known in the past. I continued meditating and focusing on my desires, including having a relationship with John. I had started to see visions of us having picnics in the park or dancing. The visions seemed beautiful and right, so I would open myself up to the universe, asking it to give me what I wanted, but then I would try to block him out. I started going to dance clubs on the weekends with a close friend. I had bought 2 hits of ecstasy and cut them into fourths so that I could take a little bit here and there to forget about John and be happy. But no matter how many men talked to me, I still felt a dark cloud hanging over my head, engulfing and swallowing me up. I couldn't fight it on my own. It was way more powerful than me. I tried to remind myself not to contact him. I would stalk his MySpace page and see that he was depressed by the things he would write. I then started looking at his wife's MySpace page. I would sit and read her posts and feel incredible guilt. One day, I remember lying in my bed and feeling a dark, heavy, and furious presence hovering over me. I could feel the intensity of its anger glaring at me. It seemed to be staring right at me. It felt like it was on top of me, as if its face was almost against mine. It lingered for a while. I sensed a lot of evil and became frightened, so I pulled my blankets over my head and hoped it would disappear. There was no doubt that something very evil was in my room. I thought back to how I had heard an inner scream once telling me to get the heck out of John's apartment one night and wondered if it had anything to do with this presence. I had never felt anything so intense, especially from something that I could not see. I had a gut feeling that this presence had much to do with my attachment to John and why I felt so controlled when contacting him. I felt like it wasn't my will to contact him. It had begun to feel like something was trying to make me do it. I thought I was possessed. I believe that was the only explanation for this and everything else that was about to happen. Meditating and abusing Adderall was making things worse. My head began to feel heavy. I felt drugged even when waking up sober. Adderall had never made me feel like that before. I did not understand what was happening, but I was sure it had something to do with me trying to will away someone's husband with my thoughts. The deception was that the visions I would see looked nice and seemed righteous, but it wasn't because God disapproves of adultery. So the visions were not from God. I was double-minded, conflicted, and deceived. Even worse, I began hearing a voice that claimed to be John and sounded like him. He would remind me of all the things that we did together. He told me he could listen to my thoughts and we could communicate like this. This entity could hear any thought that I had. I didn't have to open my mouth to speak to it. Conversations would go on in my mind all night long. I thought I could hear his thoughts in my head and his voice externally coming from the air. It was like having a conversation with a person who was physically present. There was a lot of interaction, laughing about good times together. He apologized for lying. He would tell me that he was beside me on my bed. I didn't know what to think. How did this voice know specific details about John that I would have never remembered? How did this voice know a lot about me and my kids? It seemed pure and accurate, but it was a deceiver. At home one day, I heard John's voice coming from the living room stereo. I was stunned and froze. The voice said he was sorry for not calling or texting me back. So John's thoughts appeared to be made known to me through my stereo that night as well. Also, several nights I heard, "She loves me and I love her." Then I would hear a female voice crying and saying, "You don't love her, you lust her." At first, I thought I had left the television on, but then I discovered something horrible was happening to me. I also started hearing, "I love you so much." I would hear that voice from an external position, and it didn't sound anything like John's voice. It was a deep voice. Later, I began hearing more voices coming from the stereo in the living room. Most of the time, though, I'd hear voices that seemed to be in the air. It was as if invisible people were all around me speaking loudly. The depression was also getting worse. I wrote 2 journal entries. Something is seriously wrong with me right now. I've fallen into a deep depression that I can't seem to snap myself out of it. I know taking Adderall is not helping, and I need to figure out a way to safely get off of it. Strange things and sensations are happening. Gotta break this trance I'm in, this obsession that sickens me so much it consumes all other thoughts, making them disappear as soon as they're realized. To focus on anything else is the most difficult task. It's like drowning in thick mud looking for a way out. But you get so lost you forgot there is anything else, much less a way out. You may break out for a little while, but you're sucked back in when you close your eyes to sleep. You wake up in a trance again. You feel controlled, but that's impossible, right? It's like a gravitational force that you fight every second of every day because you know if you stay there too long, you'll never come back up.